Hello and welcome to Sleepy Geologist. Close your eyes now. Let your breathing slow. Tonight, we travel far beyond the gentle pull of Earth's gravity, beyond the familiar warmth of our single sun. We drift through the vast darkness of space. Here, in the cosmic ocean, something magical awaits your discovery. Two stars dance together in the eternal night. These are not ordinary stars living alone, like our sun. These are binary stars. Twin flames locked in a graceful waltz that has lasted for billions of years. They circle each other with the patience of ancient lovers, never touching, never parting. Imagine watching this celestial dance from a quiet distance. The larger star glows golden white, like a cosmic campfire warming the darkness. Its companion shines smaller but brighter, a blue-white jewel spinning in slow circles around its partner. They pull at each other with invisible threads of gravity. This same force that keeps your feet planted on Earth now becomes the choreographer of their eternal dance. Round and round they go, neither star able to escape the gentle grip of the other. Their dance creates rhythms in space itself. Waves of gravitational energy ripple outward like circles on a still pond. These waves carry the story of their partnership across the galaxy, whispering to anyone who knows how to listen. As they spin, they sometimes steal material from each other. Streams of glowing gas flow between them like ribbons of light. The smaller star pulls wisps of atmosphere from its larger companion, creating bridges of fire that stretch across the darkness. This cosmic ballet has been playing for longer than you can imagine. Before Earth was even born, these two stars were already dancing. They watched the birth of planets, the formation of galaxies, the slow turning of the universe itself. Now, let your mind travel closer. Feel yourself drifting toward their warm embrace. You are safe here in your imagination, protected from their fierce heat and radiation by the gentle boundaries of thought and wonder. From this closer view, you can see how different they truly are. The larger star burns with steady, comfortable light. It reminds you of a wise grandfather, patient and reliable. Its surface churns with slow convection currents, great rivers of plasma rising and falling like breathing. The smaller star burns hotter and faster. It spins quickly on its axis, completing a full rotation in just hours. Its surface crackles with magnetic energy, shooting flares and jets of particles into space. This star is young at heart, energetic and unpredictable. Together, they create something neither could achieve alone. Their combined light reaches farther into space than either star could manage by itself. Planets that would freeze around a single star might find warmth in their doubled radiance. But this is not just a story about stars. This is a story about possibility. About worlds that might exist in the warm spaces between these dancing giants. About life that might have learned to love not one sunrise, but two. Picture a planet finding its way in this binary embrace. Sometimes it would bask in the light of both stars at once, experiencing a summer beyond anything Earth has known. Other times, one star would hide behind the other, creating an eclipse that paints the sky in twilight colors. The planet's day would follow no simple pattern. Sometimes daylight would last for weeks as both stars shone together. Other times, the world would experience a strange half-night, lit by only one star while the other rested behind the horizon. Any creatures living on such a world would know a different relationship with light and shadow. They would understand rhythms that Earth life has never experienced. Their eyes might see colors we cannot imagine, their hearts might beat to the complex tempo of binary starlight. Plants on this world would be artists of adaptation. Some might have leaves that turn to follow one star, then quickly pivot to catch the light of the other. Others might have learned to photosynthesize using both types of starlight at once, creating chemical processes unknown to Earth's simple, single-star biology. The very air would taste different. Heated by two stars instead of one, the atmosphere would move in complex patterns. Winds would carry stories from continents heated by different combinations of stellar light. Weather systems would dance to rhythms as complex as the stars themselves. Oceans on this world would know tides beyond Earth's imagination. Instead of the simple push and pull of one moon and one sun, these waters would respond to the gravitational conversation between two massive stars. Tides might create intricate patterns, sometimes reinforcing each other, sometimes cancelling out into perfect stillness. Standing on the shore of such an ocean, you would see waves that reflect not one sun, but two. The water would sparkle with doubled light, creating patterns of brightness that shift and change as the stars move through their eternal dance above. This is where we begin our journey tonight. In the warm light of twin stars, on worlds where life might have learned lessons unknown to Earth. Where creatures might dream under the glow of two suns, and where the very concept of day and night takes on meanings rich and strange. As you settle deeper into your pillow, let your mind hold this image. Two ancient stars, dancing their slow waltz through space and time. Their light reaches across vast distances, carrying with it the promise of worlds unlike any you have known. But even these dancing stars are subject to forces greater than themselves. Soon, we will discover how their gravitational embrace shapes not just their own destiny, but the fate of any planets caught in their influence. Feel the weight of your body as you rest tonight. Your bones, your muscles, your very breath, all held gently by Earth's gravity. This invisible force cradles you like a mother's arms, keeping you safe and grounded. But tonight, we journey to a world where gravity tells a different story. A world caught between two stars, pulled by forces flowing in directions Earth has never known. Imagine yourself standing on solid ground beneath an alien sky. Above you, two suns hang like glowing lanterns, one golden, one blue-white. But something feels different beneath your feet. The very ground seems to shift with subtle rhythms you cannot quite understand. This is what happens when gravity flows from two sources instead of one. Like standing at the place where two rivers meet, you feel currents pulling you in multiple directions at once. On Earth, gravity flows straight down, simple and steady. It points toward the center of our planet with the reliability of a compass needle pointing north. Your body has learned to trust this single direction, to move and balance according to one unchanging pull. But here, on this world between twin stars, gravity becomes a dance partner with multiple hands. One star pulls you toward it with invisible threads. The other star tugs you in a slightly different direction. The planet beneath your feet adds its own voice to this gravitational chorus. The result is something Earth life has never experienced. Instead of one steady downward pull, you feel the constant, gentle shifting of forces. Sometimes the pulls align, creating moments when you feel slightly heavier. Other times they work against each other, and you feel mysteriously lighter on your feet. This cosmic tug-of-war shapes everything around you. Mountains grow in curves instead of straight lines, following the invisible currents of gravitational force. Valleys spiral in patterns that mirror the orbital dance of the stars above. Rivers on this world flow in ways that would puzzle Earth's geologists. Sometimes water runs uphill when the gravitational currents align just right. Waterfalls can curve through the air, bending their flow as they respond to the shifting pull of distant stars. The very air moves differently here. Earth's atmosphere circulates in predictable patterns, driven by the heat of one sun and the spin of one world. But an atmosphere caught between two stars learns more complex lessons. Winds spiral in double helixes, following the gravitational currents like leaves caught in invisible whirlpools. Storm systems develop shapes unknown to Earth's weather, sometimes circular like hurricanes, sometimes stretched into figure eights that mirror the orbital paths of the binary stars. You watch clouds form and dissolve according to these alien rhythms. Sometimes they cluster where gravitational forces meet and intensify. Other times they spread thin across regions where the star pools work against each other, creating zones of unusual calm. The ocean tides here tell stories of magnificent complexity. On Earth, our tides follow the simple rhythm of one moon and one sun. High tide, low tide, a pattern you can predict with calendars and charts. But tides on a binary world respond to a symphony of gravitational voices. Two massive stars, each calling to the water with its own rhythm. Sometimes their calls harmonize, creating supertides that reveal vast new beaches and flood coastal plains with magnificent regularity. Other times the star calls compete, one pulling the ocean toward shore while the other pulls it away. These competing tides can create regions of perfect stillness, where the water lies flat as a mirror despite the gravitational storm raging invisibly above. Creatures living in these tidal zones have evolved to read the complex language of gravitational rhythm. Some animals time their breeding seasons to the rare moments when both stars align to create the highest tides of the year. Others have learned to predict the calm periods, using them for deep water migrations. Plants along these alien shorelines grow in patterns that reflect the gravitational dance. Their roots spread wide to anchor against the shifting pulls. Their leaves turn not just toward the sun, but adjust constantly to the changing direction of gravitational flow. Trees on this world grow with a flexibility Earth's forests have never needed. Their trunks curve and sway, not just with wind, but with the subtle shifting of gravitational currents. Some develop spiraling growth patterns, their wood recording the orbital history of the binary stars like living calendars. Even the soil beneath your feet tells the story of double gravity. Sediments settle in layered patterns that reflect the complex tidal history of this world. Geologists studying these rocks could read the orbital mechanics of the binary stars going back millions of years. Standing here, you begin to understand how profoundly gravity shapes not just the ground beneath your feet, but the very possibility of life itself. The gentle, steady pull of Earth's single star allowed life to develop in predictable tidal pools, to grow tall trees that reach straight toward one sky. But life under binary stars would need different strategies. It would need to be more flexible, more adaptable, more capable of reading the complex rhythms of a gravitational world. Such life might develop senses you cannot imagine, perhaps an ability to feel gravitational currents the way Earth's birds sense magnetic fields. The very chemistry of life might be different here. Molecules under stress from shifting gravitational forces might fold in unexpected ways, creating proteins and enzymes unknown to Earth's biochemistry. Evolution might discover solutions to problems Earth life has never faced. As you rest in your bed tonight, safely held by Earth's simple, steady gravity, let your mind wander through this world of complex forces. Feel yourself walking on ground that shifts with stellar rhythms, breathing air that moves in gravitational spirals. This world teaches us that gravity is not just a force that holds things down. It is a sculptor of worlds, a choreographer of atmospheres, a composer of tides. It shapes not just the land and sea, but the very possibilities of life itself. But gravity is only the beginning of this alien world story. The complex dance of forces creates something even more fundamental to life's survival: zones of warmth and cold, regions where liquid water might exist beneath the light of two stars. Tonight, as you settle into the perfect warmth of your bed, notice how your body seeks that gentle comfort zone. Not too hot beneath heavy covers, not too cold with blankets thrown aside. Just right, in that sweet spot where sleep comes easily. Far across the galaxy, planets orbiting twin stars search for this same perfect balance. They hunt for that magical distance where water stays liquid, where life might find its foothold in the cosmic dance. Scientists call this region the habitable zone. On Earth, we sometimes call it the Goldilocks zone, not too hot, not too cold, but just right. Around a single star like our Sun, this zone forms a simple ring in space, like a warm band circling the stellar fire. But around binary stars, the habitable zone becomes something far more complex and beautiful. It shifts and flows like a living thing, responding to the gravitational waltz of the twin suns. Imagine watching this zone from high above, as if you were a cosmic gardener surveying your stellar greenhouse. Sometimes the habitable region stretches wide, embracing planets in a generous arc of warmth. Other times it narrows, becoming selective about which worlds it will nurture. The shape of this life-friendly zone depends entirely on how the binary stars dance together. If the two stars orbit close to each other, like intimate partners holding hands, they create a single, large habitable zone that surrounds them both. Planets in this region bask in the combined warmth of both suns, enjoying a cosmic summer that Earth has never known. But if the binary stars dance at a greater distance, like formal ballroom partners maintaining elegant space between them, something different happens. Two separate habitable zones form, each cradling its own family of potentially life-bearing worlds. Picture a planet lucky enough to orbit in one of these warm zones. Water pools in its valleys, neither boiling away into steam nor freezing into permanent ice. Rivers carve gentle paths through landscapes warmed by stellar light. Lakes reflect not one sun, but two, their surfaces sparkling with doubled radiance. The temperature on such a world would fluctuate in patterns unknown to Earth. Sometimes both stars shine together, creating periods of intense warming. The planet's atmosphere would shimmer with heat waves, and any oceans would grow restless with thermal currents. Other times, one star might hide behind the other during their orbital dance, creating a partial eclipse. The world would cool slightly, experiencing a gentle reprieve from the doubled heat. These eclipse seasons might become the most comfortable times for surface life, when temperatures drop to levels that feel familiar to Earth-adapted senses. A planet in a binary habitable zone would experience seasons unlike anything in our solar system. Instead of the simple pattern of Earth's yearly cycle, these worlds would follow the complex orbital rhythms of their twin stars. Some seasons might last for weeks, others for months, depending on the intricate choreography of the stellar dance. During the warmest seasons, when both stars shine at their brightest, life might retreat to cooler regions. Deep caves would become temporary sanctuaries. Dense forests might provide shade where creatures could wait out the stellar summer. Underground rivers might flow more actively, carrying life-giving water through the rocky foundations of continents. But even in the hottest periods, life would find ways to thrive. Plants might develop leaves that can fold closed during peak heat, protecting their delicate tissues while still gathering enough light for survival. Some might grow reflective surfaces, bouncing excess radiation back towards space while absorbing only what they need. The cooler seasons would bring their own magic. As one star moves behind the other, or as their combined light strikes the planet at gentler angles, the world would experience a cosmic autumn. This might be when flowers bloom, when animals emerge from their thermal shelters, when the chemistry of life runs most efficiently. Oceans on these worlds would tell the story of binary seasons in their layers. Warm periods would create distinct strata in the water, with heated surface layers floating above cooler depths. During eclipse seasons, these layers would mix, creating currents that carry nutrients and dissolved gases throughout the aquatic ecosystem. Any atmosphere surrounding a binary planet would be a master of thermal regulation. It would need to absorb and distribute heat from two different sources, creating weather patterns that respond to the complex interplay of stellar radiation. Clouds might form in spiral patterns, following the gravitational and thermal influences of the twin stars. The very ground beneath would participate in this thermal dance. Rocks would expand and contract with the binary seasons, creating geological rhythms unknown to Earth. Some minerals might transform during the hot periods, only to change back during cooler eclipse seasons, creating a living geology that pulses with stellar time. Standing on such a world, you would witness sunrises and sunsets unlike any Earth has ever seen. Sometimes one sun would rise while the other still hung in the sky, creating a double dawn painted in colors that blend and shift as two different stellar spectra mix in the atmosphere. Sunsets might stretch across the sky in complex gradients, as one star disappears while the other continues to paint the horizon. The night sky would offer its own wonders. During eclipse seasons, when one star hides behind the other, you might experience a twilight illuminated by a single solar disk, creating shadows and colors reminiscent of Earth's familiar evenings. But even then, the hidden star's influence would be felt in the subtle gravitational tugs that affect everything from tides to weather patterns. In the deepest regions of these worlds, where stellar light never penetrates, life might develop that ignores the binary dance entirely. Deep ocean creatures, cave dwellers, and underground ecosystems might create their own warmth through chemical processes, building communities that thrive regardless of what happens in the stellar ballet far above. These habitable zones around binary stars represent something profound about life's possibilities. They show us that comfort, warmth, and the potential for existence can arise from complexity as well as simplicity. Life doesn't need the steady, predictable warmth of a single star. It might flourish equally well in the shifting, rhythmic embrace of stellar twins. But warmth alone doesn't guarantee life's success. Even in the perfect thermal embrace of a binary habitable zone, worlds must still navigate the complex. Think of Earth's seasons as a simple song played by a single instrument. Spring's gentle awakening, summer's warm crescendo, autumn's quiet fade, winter's restful pause. The melody repeats year after year, reliable as a heartbeat, predictable as the tide. But on a world orbiting twin stars, seasons become a symphony played by a cosmic orchestra. Multiple melodies weave together, creating harmonies and rhythms that Earth has never known. Imagine yourself standing in a meadow on such a world, watching the sky tell its complex seasonal story. Above you, two suns trace their paths through alien constellations, sometimes dancing close together, sometimes pulling apart in their eternal orbital waltz. The first type of season you might experience is the double summer. This happens when both stars align on the same side of the sky, combining their warmth like two campfires burning side by side. The air shimmers with heat waves that create mirages across distant hills. Plants grow with aggressive enthusiasm, racing to capture the abundant energy flooding down from the doubled sun. During double summer, the very atmosphere seems to glow. Colors become more vivid, more saturated. The sky might blush with shades of gold and amber as light from both stars mingles in the upper air. Rivers run lower as increased evaporation lifts moisture into clouds that tower like white mountains against the brilliant sky. Any creatures living through such seasons would have learned strategies unknown to Earth life. Some might estivate, falling into a summer sleep similar to hibernation, waiting out the intense heat in cool burrows or shaded caves. Others might migrate to polar regions, following the thermal comfort zones as they shift with the stellar dance. Then comes the gentler season of alternating light. During these periods, the two stars take turns warming the world, like partners sharing the task of tending a garden. One star rises as the other sets, creating days that stretch longer than Earth has ever known, but without the crushing heat of double summer. These alternating seasons might be the most comfortable times for complex life. The temperature stays warm but not overwhelming. Plants can photosynthesize continuously, with different species perhaps specializing in capturing light from each individual star. Some might be golden-green, optimized for the wavelengths of the primary star. Others might shimmer with blue-silver pigments, evolved to harvest energy from the companion star's different spectrum. The most magical seasons come during the eclipse periods. These happen when one star passes behind the other, creating a cosmic alignment that transforms the entire world. The hidden star's light creates a brilliant corona around the foreground star, painting the sky in colors that have no names in human languages. During a partial eclipse season, when only part of one star hides behind the other, the world experiences a twilight that can last for days or even weeks. Shadows become soft and diffused. The air cools to temperatures that might feel familiar to Earth dwellers, offering relief from the usual intensity of binary starlight. Animals might treat eclipse seasons as their spring, emerging from thermal shelters to mate, nest, and raise their young. Flowers might bloom in synchronized waves, taking advantage of the gentler light to attract pollinators who can finally venture out without risk of overheating. During total eclipse seasons, when one star completely hides the other, the world experiences something like a cosmic winter. But this is not the cold, dark winter of Earth's far latitudes. Instead, it's a warm twilight winter, lit by the corona of the hidden star and the direct light of the visible one. These eclipse winters might trigger the most spectacular biological events on the planet. Perhaps this is when the largest migrations occur, as animals move across continents under the gentle light. Maybe certain species emerge only during eclipses, like cosmic versions of Earth's cicadas, their life cycles timed to these rare alignments. The length of each seasonal type depends entirely on the orbital mechanics of the binary system. In some systems, double summers might last only a few Earth days, occurring like brief seasonal storms. In others, they might stretch for months, creating extended periods when life must adapt or retreat. Alternating light seasons might follow patterns as complex as musical compositions. Sometimes the stars might alternate daily, creating a rhythm of warm days and warmer days. Other times, one star might dominate for weeks before yielding the sky to its companion, creating seasonal movements that last for months. Eclipse seasons arrive with their own mysterious timing. They might occur rarely, like seasonal comets visible only once in a generation. Or they might happen regularly, creating calendar systems based on the predictable dance of stellar alignment rather than simple orbital periods. Plants on such a world would be master timekeepers, their internal clocks tuned to the complex rhythms of binary seasons. Some trees might grow rings that reflect not yearly patterns, but the intricate cycles of stellar alignment. Reading such rings, scientists could decode the orbital history of the binary system going back centuries. Seasonal migration patterns would create some of the most beautiful spectacles in the galaxy. Imagine vast herds moving not just across continents, but timing their journeys to the seasonal availability of different types of starlight. Some species might migrate toward the regions experiencing double summer, thriving in the intense energy. Others might follow the eclipse shadows, preferring the gentler twilight zones. The very chemistry of life would pulse with these complex seasons. Photosynthesis might switch between different pathways depending on which star dominates the sky. Biochemical processes might speed up during double summers and slow during eclipse seasons, creating metabolic rhythms unknown to single-star biology. Weather patterns would weave seasonal stories across the landscape. Double summer storms might be brief but intense, as superheated air creates powerful convection currents. Eclipse season weather might be dominated by gentle, persistent mists, as the cooler air holds more moisture without the driving energy to create dramatic storms. Standing in that alien meadow, watching the seasonal symphony unfold above you, you begin to understand how profoundly environment shapes the possibilities of life. Earth's creatures are children of simple, predictable seasons. But life under binary stars might develop complexity and adaptability that Earth biology has never needed. Each seasonal transition would bring its own lessons, its own challenges, its own opportunities for evolutionary innovation. Life might learn to be more flexible, more responsive to change, more capable of thriving under conditions that shift and flow like music made visible. These complex seasons create more than just temperature changes. They stir the very air itself, creating atmospheric movements and weather patterns that dance to the rhythm of the binary stars, painting the sky with winds that Earth has never known. Take a slow, deep breath now. Feel the air fill your lungs, warmed by Earth's single sun and stirred by familiar winds. This air has traveled simple paths, heated by one star, moved by predictable patterns that your body has learned to trust. But tonight, we journey to a world where the very air tells a more complex story. Here, beneath the light of twin stars, the atmosphere becomes a living canvas painted by two stellar brushes. Imagine breathing air that has been touched by the light of two different suns. Each breath carries the thermal signature of both stars, creating an atmospheric cocktail that Earth's lungs have never tasted. Sometimes the air tastes of golden warmth from the primary star. Other times it carries the sharper, more energetic flavor of the companion's blue-white fire. The atmosphere on a binary world lives in constant motion, stirred by thermal currents that Earth's weather has never known. When both stars shine from the same region of sky, the air rises in powerful columns, creating thermal updrafts that can lift clouds to extraordinary heights. These thermal towers stretch toward space like invisible pillars supporting the sky itself. But when the stars shine from opposite sides of the world, something magical happens. The atmosphere begins to flow in great rivers of air, streaming from the region heated by one star toward the cooler zones warmed by the other. These atmospheric rivers carry more than just temperature. They transport moisture, particles, and even the subtle chemical signatures of different landscapes. Watch as morning comes to this alien world. The first star rises, painting the eastern sky in familiar golden hues. The cool night air begins to warm and stir, creating gentle breezes that whisper through whatever forests or grasslands cover this distant surface. But then, as the second star appears, everything changes. The air itself seems to inhale as both stars begin their daily work of heating the atmosphere. Winds that had been flowing in simple patterns suddenly swirl into complex spirals. The atmosphere reorganizes itself, creating circulation patterns that follow the gravitational and thermal influence of both stellar bodies. During double summer seasons, when both stars blaze together in the sky, the atmosphere becomes a cauldron of energy. Massive storm systems develop with a power that Earth's weather cannot match. But these are not chaotic storms. They follow the mathematical precision of binary stellar mechanics, their rotation and movement governed by the dance of the twin suns. Thunder on such a world might sound different, shaped by air that has different density and composition due to the intense double heating. Lightning might paint the sky in colors unknown to Earth, as the electrical discharge passes through an atmosphere supercharged by binary stellar energy. Rain, when it comes, carries stories from vast distances. Droplets that formed in the thermal updrafts above one continent might fall on shores thousands of miles away, transported by the great atmospheric rivers that flow between the zones of different stellar heating. Each raindrop becomes a messenger, carrying dissolved minerals and microscopic life across continents. During the gentler alternating light seasons, the atmosphere settles into more peaceful rhythms. Winds flow in elegant patterns from day side to night side, but these patterns shift and change as the stars take turns dominating different regions of the sky. The air moves like a slow dance, following the changing thermal gradients created by the stellar alternation. But it is during eclipse seasons that the atmosphere reveals its most beautiful secrets. As one star passes behind the other, the sudden change in heating creates atmospheric waves that ripple around the entire planet. These waves are invisible to the eye, but they carry sound and scent across vast distances with unusual clarity. Standing on a hillside during an eclipse season, you might hear sounds from the other side of the world, carried by these atmospheric waves like messages in a bottle. The scent of flowers blooming in distant valleys might reach your nose, transported by the gentle but persistent air currents created by the eclipse's thermal gradient. The very chemistry of this atmosphere would be different from Earth's familiar mix. Heated by two different types of stars, molecules might form compounds that Earth's single-star chemistry has never created. Some atmospheric components might exist only during certain stellar configurations, appearing and disappearing with the binary seasons like atmospheric auroras. Oxygen, if it exists on such a world, might smell subtly different. Processed by plants that photosynthesize using two different stellar spectra, it could carry trace compounds that create unique fragrances. Breathing might become a more sensuous experience, as each inhalation brings news of which star is currently dominant in the sky. The upper atmosphere would be a particularly active place, stirred by solar winds from two different stars. Auroras might paint the night sky in complex patterns, as charged particles from both stars interact with the planet's magnetic field. These binary auroras could create light shows of unprecedented beauty, with colors shifting and dancing as the stellar winds alternately reinforce and interfere with each other. Weather prediction on such a world would require understanding patterns of incredible complexity. Meteorologists would need to track not just the usual variables of temperature, humidity, and pressure, but also the changing positions of both stars and their combined effects on atmospheric circulation. Storm systems might follow orbital mechanics as much as thermal dynamics. The jet streams on this world might flow in figure-8 patterns, following the gravitational influences of the binary stars. These high-altitude rivers of air would carry weather systems along paths that mirror the celestial dance above, creating climate patterns that repeat not yearly, but according to the much longer cycles of stellar alignment. Clouds would form in ways that Earth's meteorology has never seen. During double summer periods, towering cumulonimbus clouds might develop with unusual symmetry, their growth patterns influenced by the balanced heating from both stars. During eclipse seasons, clouds might form in gentle spirals, following the atmospheric waves created by the changing thermal gradients. Flying creatures on such a world would be master navigators of these complex air currents. Birds, if they exist, might time their migrations not just to seasonal temperature changes, but to the atmospheric circulation patterns created by specific stellar configurations. They might follow the great atmospheric rivers, riding thermal currents that can carry them across entire continents. The very sound of wind on this world would tell stories unknown to Earth. As air flows through landscapes heated by two different stars, it might create harmonics and resonances that Earth's winds never achieve. Perhaps certain rock formations would sing only during specific stellar alignments, as the precise combination of temperature and atmospheric pressure creates acoustic conditions that exist nowhere else in the universe. Standing in this alien breeze, feeling air that has been touched by the light of two suns, you begin to understand how intimately connected all things are in the cosmic dance. The atmosphere doesn't just surround life on this world, it participates in the binary ballet, moving and breathing with the rhythm of the stellar partnership. This living atmosphere, stirred by twin stars and shaped by complex thermal currents, eventually settles into the valleys and depressions of the landscape, where it might pool in quiet lakes and flowing rivers, creating the liquid foundations upon which life builds its most ambitious dreams. Listen to your heartbeat as you lie still tonight. Feel its steady rhythm, reliable as Earth's tides. Your pulse beats with the simple cadence of one heart, just as Earth's oceans rise and fall to the pull of one moon and one sun. But imagine oceans that pulse with a more complex rhythm. Waters that respond to the gravitational heartbeat of two massive stars, creating tidal symphonies that Earth has never heard. Picture yourself standing on a shore unlike any Earth possesses. Before you stretches an alien sea, its surface catching and reflecting the light of twin suns. The water sparkles with doubled radiance, creating patterns of brightness that shift and dance as the binary stars move through their eternal walls above. This ocean knows tides that follow no simple schedule. Sometimes the two stars pull together, their gravitational voices singing in harmony. When this happens, the sea responds with supertides that reveal vast beaches and flood coastal plains with magnificent regularity. Water retreats so far that you can walk on ocean floors that are usually buried beneath fathoms of brine. During these extreme low tides, the exposed seabed tells stories written in shells and sediment. Patterns spiral in the sand, created by the complex gravitational currents. Tidal pools dot the landscape like scattered jewels, each one a temporary world where marine life waits patiently for the waters to return. Then, as the gravitational harmony reaches its peak, the supertide returns. Water rushes back across the exposed plains, carrying with it the rich nutrients stirred up from the deep ocean floor. These returning floods bring life and energy to coastal ecosystems in ways that Earth's simple tides could never achieve. But the binary stars don't always agree on which direction to pull the sea. Sometimes their gravitational voices work against each other, one star calling the water toward shore while its companion pulls it away. During these opposing tides, something magical happens. The sea becomes perfectly still. Miles of ocean surface lie flat as a mirror, reflecting the twin stars with crystal clarity. In this stillness, the water becomes transparent to depths that normal wave action would hide. You can see straight down through hundreds of feet of motionless brine, watching fish swim in underwater forests that seem to float in liquid air. These still water periods create unique opportunities for marine life. Deep-dwelling creatures rise toward the surface, taking advantage of the calm to feed in waters usually too turbulent to navigate. Plankton arrange themselves in visible layers, each species finding its perfect depth in the motionless column of water. The thermal effects of two stars create ocean currents unknown to Earth's seas. During double summer periods, when both stars blaze together, the surface waters heat rapidly. This creates powerful convection currents that dive deep into the ocean, carrying oxygen-rich surface water to the depths and bringing nutrient-rich deep water toward the light. These thermal currents might create underwater rivers that flow in spirals, following the combined gravitational influence of the binary stars. Fish might migrate along these invisible highways, riding the current streams that connect distant parts of the ocean in patterns that mirror the stellar dance above. During eclipse seasons, when one star hides behind the other, the ocean responds to the changing thermal input. Surface temperatures drop slightly, causing different circulation patterns. Cooler surface water becomes denser and begins to sink, creating gentle overturning that brings different layers of the ocean into contact with each other. The chemistry of these alien seas would be more complex than Earth's oceans. Water molecules heated by two different types of stellar radiation might carry dissolved gases and minerals in combinations unknown to single-star chemistry. The ocean might taste subtly different in different locations, depending on which star's influence dominates local currents. Waves on this binary ocean would follow complex mathematical patterns. Instead of the relatively simple wave trains that march across Earth's seas, these waters might develop wave interference patterns of extraordinary beauty. Sometimes waves from different regions would meet and amplify each other, creating spectacular displays of water moving in synchronized formations. Other times, wave patterns from different areas would cancel each other out, creating patches of unusually calm water in the middle of otherwise active seas. Ships sailing these waters would need to understand wave mechanics far more complex than anything Earth's navigators have encountered. The shoreline itself would be a work of art sculpted by binary tides. Beaches might show layered patterns in their sand, each layer created by a different type of tidal cycle. Some beaches might have multiple high water marks, evidence of the various tidal patterns created by different stellar alignments. Coastal erosion would follow the complex rhythms of binary gravity. Cliffs might be carved into spiral patterns, shaped by waves that arrive from different angles depending on the position of both stars. Sea caves might extend in unusual directions, carved by tidal flows that change their patterns with stellar seasons. Marine life in these seas would be master adapters to complex rhythms. Some fish might breed only during specific stellar alignments, when tidal patterns create exactly the right conditions for their spawning grounds. Others might migrate vast distances, following current patterns that exist only during certain binary seasons. Coral reefs, if they exist on this world, might grow in patterns that reflect the gravitational influence of two stars. Instead of growing toward a single light source, they might develop complex three-dimensional structures that optimize their position relative to both stars and the varying tidal flows. Deep-sea creatures would experience pressure changes unknown to Earth's ocean life. As tidal patterns vary with stellar alignment, the pressure at any given depth would fluctuate in complex cycles. Life in the deep ocean would need to be extraordinarily adaptable, capable of handling pressure variations that Earth's deep-sea life never encounters. The very sound of these oceans would be different from Earth's familiar sea voice. Waves breaking on shores shaped by binary tides might create harmonics and resonances that single-star oceans never achieve. The underwater acoustic environment would carry sounds in patterns shaped by the complex current structures created by twin stellar influences. Standing on that alien shore, watching waters that pulse to the gravitational heartbeat of two stars, you begin to understand how profoundly environment shapes the possibilities of life. These seas represent adaptation and complexity on a scale that Earth's relatively simple oceans have never demanded. But oceans, no matter how complex their tidal patterns, are ultimately just the stage upon which life performs its greatest experiments. In these alien waters, under the light of binary stars, life itself might have learned lessons and developed solutions that Earth biology has never imagined. In the beginning, there was darkness. Then came light, and with light came the possibility of life itself. On Earth, this story unfolded simply. One star provided the energy, and life learned to capture and use that single, steady source of power. But imagine a different beginning, on a world where two stars dance in the sky. Here, life's first spark would need to learn a more complex lesson from the very moment it began. Picture a tide pool on this distant world, warmed by the light of binary suns. The water in this shallow basin catches photons from two different sources, each carrying its own unique energy signature. One star burns with golden light, rich in the wavelengths that Earth life knows how to use. The other glows with blue-white fire, carrying energy that Earth's biology has never learned to harness. In the warm, mineral-rich water of this tidal pool, the first molecules of life begin to form. Unlike Earth's simple beginnings, these early biological experiments have access to a broader spectrum of energy. They can choose from a menu of light wavelengths that single-star worlds never provide. The very first attempts at photosynthesis on this world would be different from Earth's elegant but simple process. Early life forms might develop two different systems for capturing light, one tuned to each star's particular spectrum. Like having two different solar panels on the same roof, these primitive organisms could maximize their energy intake by harvesting from both stellar sources. Some early life forms might specialize, becoming experts at using light from only one of the binary stars. Golden organisms might thrive during periods when the primary star dominates the sky. Blue-silver life forms might flourish when the companion star shines brightest. This specialization would create the first binary-adapted ecosystems, with different communities of life taking turns as stellar conditions change. But the most successful early life forms would likely be the generalists. These adaptable organisms would develop photosynthetic systems capable of switching between different stellar inputs, like biological transformers that could adjust their internal machinery depending on which star was available. Imagine microscopic life forms that change color as the stellar environment shifts. During double summer periods, when both stars shine together, these organisms might glow with complex, iridescent hues as they process the mixed spectrum of binary starlight. During eclipse seasons, they might shift to simpler colors, optimizing themselves for single-star conditions. The energy chemistry of this early life would be more complex than Earth's relatively straightforward biological processes. Instead of the simple sugar molecules that Earth life creates through photosynthesis, binary world organisms might produce more complex energy storage compounds. These molecules would need to store not just energy, but information about which type of stellar radiation created them. Early evolution on this world would follow different patterns. Natural selection would favor organisms that could adapt quickly to changing stellar conditions. This might lead to the development of more flexible genetic systems, capable of rapid adjustment to environmental changes that Earth life has never experienced. The first predators on this world would face unique challenges. Their prey organisms would have access to energy sources that vary with stellar alignment. A hunting strategy that works during double summer periods might fail completely during eclipse seasons, when the prey's energy metabolism shifts to different patterns. This might drive the evolution of more intelligent hunting behaviors earlier in the planet's history. Predators would need to understand and predict the complex rhythms of binary seasons, timing their reproductive cycles and hunting patterns to match the energy availability cycles of their prey. Competition for light would take on new dimensions. On Earth, plants compete mainly for access to direct sunlight, leading to the evolution of height and canopy structure. But on a binary world, competition might focus on access to specific wavelengths of light, leading to more complex arrangements between organisms. Some early communities might develop symbiotic relationships based on stellar specialization. Golden light organisms might partner with blue light specialists, creating biological cooperatives that could thrive under any stellar conditions. These partnerships might be the ancestors of more complex life forms, where different specialized components work together within the same organism. The timing of biological processes would become more sophisticated. Instead of simple circadian rhythms based on day and night cycles, life on this world might develop complex internal clocks that track multiple stellar patterns simultaneously. Some organisms might have biological calendars that predict eclipse seasons, double summer periods, and other stellar alignments. Sexual reproduction, when it eventually evolves, might be timed to stellar events. Perhaps mating seasons would coincide with specific binary configurations, when energy is most abundant and conditions most favorable for raising offspring. The genetic diversity that results from sexual reproduction would be essential for adapting to the complex environmental variations created by binary stars. Even the basic building blocks of life might be different. The amino acids and proteins that form the foundation of Earth life are optimized for single-star conditions. Life under binary stars might discover different molecular solutions, creating proteins and enzymes that work more efficiently under variable stellar radiation. The first complex cells on this world would need internal structures unknown to Earth life. Multiple types of chloroplasts might exist within the same organism, each specialized for different stellar wavelengths. These cells might be like tiny cities, with different districts dedicated to processing different types of stellar energy. Communication between early organisms might develop along different lines. Instead of simple chemical signals, early life forms might learn to communicate using light patterns that mirror the complex stellar environment. Bioluminescence might become a more sophisticated language, with different colors and patterns conveying information about stellar conditions and energy availability. The waste products of this early life would tell stories of binary adaptation. Instead of simple oxygen as Earth's early photosynthesis produced, binary world life might release more complex atmospheric gases. These waste products might create atmospheric chemistry that enhances the planet's ability to regulate temperature under variable stellar heating. As these first sparks of life learn to dance with the rhythm of twin stars, they begin to explore possibilities that Earth life has never imagined. But even the most sophisticated microscopic organisms are just the beginning of life's experiments on this complex world. Soon, these tiny pioneers would begin to organize themselves into larger, more complex communities, creating the first ecosystems that truly understand what it means to live under the light of two suns. Step softly into a forest unlike any Earth has ever grown. Your feet touch ground dappled with shadows that dance in patterns no single star could create. Above you, leaves rustle with the quiet wisdom of plants that have learned to follow two suns across an alien sky. Each tree in this forest is an artist of light. Where Earth's trees simply reach upward toward one distant sun, these botanical sculptors must solve a more complex puzzle. They track two stellar dancers, adjusting their branches and leaves to capture the maximum energy from whichever star dominates the moment. Look up through the canopy above you. Every leaf casts not one shadow, but two. These doubled shadows shift and merge as the binary stars move through their celestial waltz. Sometimes the shadows align, creating patches of deep shade. Other times they separate, painting the forest floor with intricate patterns of light and darkness. The trees themselves grow in shapes that would puzzle Earth's botanists. Some spiral as they rise, their trunks twisted like gentle helixes that follow the orbital dance of the binary stars. Others develop split canopies, with different sections of branches optimized for capturing light from each individual star. During double summer periods, when both stars shine together from the same region of sky, the forest becomes a cathedral of green fire. Every leaf works at maximum capacity, processing the abundant energy that floods down through the canopy. The air fills with the sweet scent of accelerated photosynthesis, and you can almost hear the whispered conversations of leaves sharing their solar feast. But these plants have learned not to waste this abundance. Deep in their wooden hearts, they store the extra energy in specialized cells, preparing for the leaner times when only one star illuminates their world. These storage tissues might glow faintly with bioluminescent markers, creating trees that light themselves from within during the darkest eclipse seasons. Some trees in this forest have developed partnerships with their stellar environment that Earth's plants could never imagine. Certain species might have leaves that change color to match the dominant star's spectrum. During golden star periods, these chameleon trees might shimmer with warm, brass-colored foliage. When the blue-white companion dominates, the same trees might shift to cooler, silver-green hues. The understory of this forest tells its own story of binary adaptation. Smaller plants have learned to thrive in the complex mosaic of shifting shadows created by the canopy above. Some might be specialists, growing only in the specific shadow patterns created when both stars shine at particular angles. Others might be mobile, able to shift their position slightly to follow the patches of optimal light as they move across the forest floor. Flowers in this forest would be spectacles of beauty beyond Earth's imagination. Some might bloom only during eclipse seasons, when the gentler light allows them to display colors that would be bleached out by the intense radiance of double summer. Others might synchronize their blooming with specific stellar alignments, creating seasonal displays timed to the complex binary calendar. The pollination strategies would be equally sophisticated. Some plants might release pollen during particular stellar configurations, when wind patterns created by binary heating carry their genetic material most effectively across the landscape. Others might time their reproduction to the migration patterns of pollinators who have learned to follow the complex seasonal rhythms of binary starlight. Walking deeper into this forest, you notice how sound travels differently beneath a canopy shaped by two suns. The leaves, arranged in complex three-dimensional patterns to optimize light capture, create acoustic spaces unknown to single-star forests. Bird calls might echo in spirals, following the twisted architecture of branches that grow to track binary stars. The very air beneath these trees carries stories of binary adaptation. During certain stellar alignments, the forest might release clouds of aromatic compounds, chemical messages that help coordinate the community's response to changing light conditions. These forest scents might vary with the stellar seasons, creating an olfactory calendar that marks the passage of binary time. Tree rings in this forest would be works of art. Instead of the simple annual rings that mark Earth's seasonal cycles, these trees might grow rings that reflect the complex periodicities of binary star alignment. Some rings might be thick and light-colored, recording the abundant growth during double summer years. Others might be thin and dark, marking the leaner periods of eclipse seasons. A skilled forester reading these rings could decode the orbital history of the binary system, tracing the slow changes in stellar alignment that occur over centuries. The wood itself becomes a library, storing not just the tree's personal history, but the astronomical story of the entire stellar system. Water moves through this forest in patterns unknown to Earth's woodlands. Trees have learned to collect and channel moisture not just from rainfall, but from the complex condensation patterns created by binary heating. Some trees might have specialized bark that captures dew formed during the temperature fluctuations of stellar eclipses. Others might channel rainwater through elaborate root networks that share resources across the forest community. The seasonal migrations through this forest would be spectacular to witness. As stellar conditions change, waves of biological activity might sweep through the woodland. Certain trees might lose their leaves during double summer periods, protecting themselves from excessive radiation, then burst into foliage during the gentler eclipse seasons. Symbiotic relationships between different species would reach levels of complexity that Earth's forests have never achieved. Fungal networks in the soil might connect trees not just for nutrient sharing, but for coordinating their responses to the changing stellar environment. These underground communication networks might help the forest community predict and prepare for upcoming changes in binary conditions. Some trees might serve as stellar sensors for the entire forest community. These specialist species might have evolved extraordinary sensitivity to changes in stellar radiation, serving as early warning systems that help other plants prepare for shifting conditions. Their chemical signals might trigger forest-wide responses to approaching double summers or eclipse seasons. The night forest would be equally magical. During eclipse seasons, when stellar light dims to more Earth-like levels, bioluminescent fungi might emerge from their hiding places, painting the forest floor with gentle, glowing patterns. Some trees might have evolved their own bioluminescence, using stored stellar energy to create soft light that helps coordinate nighttime biological processes. Seasonal leaf fall in this forest would create carpets of unprecedented beauty. Leaves adapted to different stellar wavelengths might maintain their specialized colors even after falling, creating forest floors painted in golden yellows, silver greens, and blue-tinged purples. These fallen leaves would decompose at different rates, their binary adapted chemistry creating soil compositions unknown to single-star ecosystems. As you stand in this forest of doubled shadows, breathing air filtered through leaves that understand the language of binary stars, you begin to appreciate how profoundly environment shapes the possibilities of life. These trees are not just plants that happen to live under two suns, they are artists who have learned to paint themselves with stellar light. But forests, no matter how beautiful and complex, are just one part of the larger story. In this world of binary stars and doubled shadows, other forms of life have learned different lessons, developing solutions to the challenges of two-sun existence that even these magnificent trees have never imagined. Close your eyes and let your imagination carry you across grassy plains that stretch beneath two suns. Here, in the warm light of binary stars, creatures move with grace and purpose through landscapes painted in doubled shadows and shifting light. The animals of this world are children of complex rhythms. Where Earth's creatures have learned to live by the simple beat of day and night, these binary-adapted beings dance to the intricate symphony of stellar alignment and eclipse, double summer and gentle twilight seasons. Watch as a herd of grazing animals moves slowly across the savanna. Their eyes are larger than those of Earth's creatures, evolved to gather light efficiently from two different stellar sources. These eyes might shimmer with iridescent colors, containing specialized cells that can switch between different types of vision depending on which star dominates the sky. During periods when both stars shine together, these creatures might see the world in colors that human eyes could never perceive. Their vision might extend into wavelengths that reveal thermal patterns, allowing them to see the heat signatures created by the complex interplay of binary starlight on the landscape around them. The internal clocks of these animals tick to rhythms far more complex than Earth's simple circadian cycles. Instead of a 24-hour biological day, they might operate on multiple overlapping cycles. One internal clock might track the movement of the primary star. Another might follow the companion star's path across the sky. A third might monitor the combined effects of both stellar influences. This creates creatures whose behavior follows patterns of beautiful complexity. Some animals might be active during double summer periods, thriving in the intense energy of combined starlight. Others might prefer the gentler eclipse seasons, emerging from shelter when the stellar intensity drops to more comfortable levels. Migration patterns on this world would be spectacles of astronomical precision. Herds might move not just with changing seasons, but with the longer cycles of stellar alignment. Some migrations might occur only when the binary stars reach specific configurations that happen once every few years. Picture vast flocks of flying creatures filling the sky during a rare stellar eclipse. These migrations might be timed to take advantage of the unique atmospheric conditions created when one star passes behind the other. The changed air currents and thermal patterns of eclipse seasons might provide ideal conditions for long-distance travel. The songs of these flying creatures would echo across landscapes in harmonies unknown to Earth. Some might sing only during specific stellar configurations, their voices adapted to carry across the unique acoustic conditions created by binary heated atmospheres. Their songs might even incorporate the rhythms of stellar alignment, creating music that reflects the orbital dance of the twin suns. Predators on this world would need hunting strategies adapted to the complex light conditions. Some might hunt primarily during double summer periods, when the intense light creates deep, contrasting shadows that provide excellent camouflage. Others might specialize in eclipse hunting, using the gentler twilight conditions to approach prey more easily. The camouflage patterns of these predators would be works of art. Instead of simple stripes or spots, their fur or scales might display complex patterns that shift appearance under different stellar lighting. A predator might appear invisible when both stars shine from one angle, but become clearly visible when the stellar geometry changes. Social behaviors would evolve around the binary stellar calendar. Some species might gather for mating rituals only during specific stellar alignments, when atmospheric conditions create optimal environments for courtship displays. The complex light patterns created by binary stars might provide the backdrop for mating dances of unprecedented beauty. Communication between animals would incorporate the stellar environment in ways Earth's creatures never could. Some species might use body markings that appear and disappear under different stellar wavelengths, creating a visual language that changes meaning as the stars move through their dance. Others might time their calls to coincide with atmospheric conditions created by specific stellar configurations. The young of these creatures would be born into a world of complex environmental rhythms. Parent animals would need to teach their offspring not just how to find food and avoid danger, but how to read the stellar signs that predict changing conditions. This education might take much longer than on Earth, as young animals learn to interpret the intricate patterns of binary star behavior. Some creatures might develop seasonal forms, changing their appearance and behavior dramatically as stellar conditions shift. During double summer periods, they might grow thick, reflective fur that protects them from intense radiation. During eclipse seasons, this same fur might thin and darken, optimized for gathering warmth from the reduced stellar input. Nocturnal animals on this world would experience nights unlike any on Earth. Sometimes night might fall when both stars set together, creating darkness deeper than Earth ever knows. Other times, night might be a gentle twilight, illuminated by one star while the other rests below the horizon. These varied night conditions would create opportunities for different types of nocturnal behavior. Some animals might be active only during the deepest binary nights, when both stars have set. Others might prefer the twilight nights, using the single-star illumination to navigate safely through landscapes that would be too bright during double summer days. The senses of binary world creatures would extend beyond anything Earth life has developed. Some animals might sense gravitational changes created by the shifting positions of the binary stars, using this information to predict tidal patterns, weather changes, or optimal feeding times. Others might detect the subtle magnetic field variations created by the complex stellar environment. Hibernation and estivation patterns would follow the long cycles of stellar alignment. Some creatures might sleep through entire double summer seasons, emerging only during the gentler eclipse periods. Others might estivate during the longest eclipse seasons, when reduced stellar energy makes food scarce, awakening when both stars return to warm their world. The emotional lives of these creatures might be more complex than those of Earth's animals. Living in an environment of constant change and complexity might drive the evolution of more sophisticated nervous systems, capable of processing and responding to the intricate environmental patterns created by binary stars. Pack animals might develop social hierarchies based on stellar sensitivity. The individuals most skilled at reading stellar signs might become natural leaders, guiding their groups through the complex seasonal transitions. These stellar-sensitive individuals might be revered in their communities, like weather prophets who can predict the changing patterns of their binary world. As you watch these imagined creatures move through their double shadow world, you begin to understand how profoundly environment shapes not just biology, but behavior, social structure, and perhaps even consciousness itself. These are not simply Earth animals living under different stars, they are entirely new experiments in the art of being alive. But even the most sophisticated surface creatures represent only part of life's story on a binary world. In the deepest places, where stellar light never reaches, other forms of life might thrive in environments that ignore the dance of the twin suns entirely. Drift downward now through the alien ocean, past the surface waters that sparkle with the light of two suns. Leave behind the tidal zones shaped by binary gravity, and sink deeper into waters where stellar light has never touched. Here, in the profound darkness of the deep ocean, the dance of twin stars becomes irrelevant. No matter how many suns burn above, their light cannot penetrate to these depths. In this eternal night, life follows different rules, creates its own energy, and builds communities that exist independent of any stellar influence. The water pressure around you increases with each fathom of descent. Your imaginary journey takes you deeper than light can reach, deeper than the complex tidal forces of binary stars can stir the water. You enter a realm where the only energy comes not from above, but from below. On the ocean floor, volcanic vents pierce the seafloor like underwater geysers. These chimneys of rock and mineral spew superheated water rich with chemicals and dissolved metals. Around each vent, an oasis of life thrives in the crushing darkness, fed not by stellar photosynthesis but by chemosynthesis. The creatures here have never seen sunlight, whether from one star or two. Their energy comes from the chemical reactions that occur when vent water mixes with the cold ocean around it. Bacteria consume sulfur and methane, transforming these simple chemicals into the complex molecules of life. These bacterial communities form the foundation of an ecosystem that owes nothing to any sun. Tube worms cluster around the vents like underwater forests. These creatures have no mouths, no stomachs, no way to eat in any sense that surface life would understand. Instead, they house billions of bacteria within their bodies, providing a safe home for the microbes in exchange for the nutrients the bacteria produce through chemical processes. These tube worms can grow to extraordinary lengths, their white bodies swaying in the mineral-rich currents like ghostly flowers in an underwater garden. Their red plumes filter chemicals from the water, gathering the raw materials their bacterial partners need to sustain both organisms in this sunless world. Crabs scuttle across the volcanic terrain, their shells pale and thin from generations of life without calcium-rich sunlight. These deep-sea scavengers have evolved eyes so sensitive they can detect the faintest bioluminescence, the living light that many deep creatures create within their own bodies. Some deep-sea creatures are living lanterns, generating their own illumination through chemical reactions contained within specialized organs. In a world where both predator and prey are blind to any light from above, bioluminescence becomes a language, a hunting tool, and a defense mechanism all at once. Fish with transparent heads drift through the eternal night, their brains visible through glass-like skulls that have evolved to detect the slightest changes in pressure and chemical composition. These creatures navigate by sensing the subtle vibrations that travel through water, reading stories written in the movement of currents and the chemical signatures left by other deep-sea life. Jellyfish pulse through the darkness like living galaxies, their bodies outlined in chains of bioluminescent organs. When threatened, they explode into displays of living light, creating underwater fireworks that might serve as warnings, mating displays, or simply ways to confuse predators in a world where vision operates by entirely different rules. The very geography of this deep realm tells stories of geological processes that operate independent of any stellar influence. Underwater mountains rise from the ocean floor, created by volcanic activity driven by the planet's internal heat. These seamounts become isolated islands of life, each developing its own unique community of deep-sea creatures. Hydrothermal vents appear and disappear on timescales measured in decades rather than the millions of years that govern stellar evolution. When a vent dies, its entire community must disperse, searching for new sources of chemical energy. When new vents emerge, they become beacons in the darkness, attracting colonists from across the deep ocean. The reproduction strategies of deep-sea life reflect the scattered nature of their energy sources. Many creatures can reproduce both sexually and asexually, ensuring that when one individual finds a new vent or chemical seep, it can establish an entire population without needing to locate a mate in the vast darkness. Some deep-sea organisms live for centuries, their slow metabolisms perfectly adapted to the scarce and unpredictable nature of chemical energy sources. These ancient creatures become living libraries, their bodies accumulating information about the chemical history of their deep-sea environment over timescales that span multiple generations of surface life. The water itself becomes a communication medium in ways that surface oceans never achieve. Chemical messages travel through the depths, carrying information about food sources, mating opportunities, and dangers across vast distances. The deep ocean develops its own postal system based on dissolved molecules rather than light or sound. Symbiotic relationships reach extraordinary levels of integration in the deep sea. Some creatures are more bacterial colony than individual animal, their bodies serving as mobile ecosystems for the microorganisms that actually perform the chemistry of life. The boundary between organism and environment becomes blurred in ways that challenge surface-based definitions of what constitutes an individual life form. Cold seeps, where methane and hydrogen sulfide leak slowly from the seafloor, support communities that might persist for thousands of years. These slow-motion oases provide the stable energy sources that allow complex deep-sea ecosystems to develop relationships and dependencies that surface life, with its rapidly changing stellar environment, could never achieve. The sediments of the deep ocean floor preserve chemical records of this independent ecosystem. Layers of bacterial mats, shed shells, and organic deposits create geological archives that tell the story of life powered by planetary chemistry rather than stellar energy. In this realm of eternal darkness and chemical abundance, life proves its independence from any sun. Whether one star or two burns overhead makes no difference to creatures that have learned to harvest energy from the planet itself. But even in this isolated deep-sea world, there might be those who dream of the surface, who sense somehow the cosmic dance occurring in the bright waters far above their chemical gardens. Imagine intelligence awakening under the light of twin stars. Picture minds that learn to think while watching two suns dance their eternal waltz across alien skies. What thoughts would such beings think? What questions would they ask about the universe? On Earth, our intelligence grew slowly under the steady light of one sun. Our myths speak of a single solar deity. Our mathematics learn to calculate with the simple rhythms of day and night, summer and winter. Our art celebrates the beauty of one sunrise, one sunset, one golden star that rules our sky. But intelligence that evolved on a binary world would understand complexity as its birthright. These minds would think naturally in patterns of two, in rhythms that weave together like cosmic harmonies. Their mathematics might be built on binary principles that go far deeper than our simple on and off computer logic. Their creation stories would speak of twin creators, dancing together to bring the universe into existence. Their poets would compose verses that mirror the orbital mechanics of stellar partnership. Their musicians might create symphonies that require two orchestras, playing sometimes in harmony, sometimes in beautiful counterpoint. Listen now, as we turn our imaginary radio telescopes toward distant binary star systems. We search for signals from minds that grew up under doubled sunlight, hoping to catch whispers of their thoughts as they travel across the cosmic ocean that separates our worlds. The first thing we might notice about their communications would be the complexity of their timing. Where human radio signals follow simple patterns, their transmissions might pulse with the intricate rhythms of binary stellar alignment. Their messages could be timed to arrive during specific stellar configurations, adding layers of meaning that single-star intelligence might never consider. Their language itself might be fundamentally different from ours. While human languages are mostly linear, flowing like rivers from one word to the next, binary world language might be more like braided streams, with meaning flowing in two parallel channels that sometimes merge, sometimes diverge, but always remain connected. They might communicate using concepts that human minds would find difficult to grasp. Instead of thinking in simple cause and effect, they might think in terms of gravitational influence, where every action creates multiple simultaneous reactions that ripple outward through their world like waves in a pond stirred by two stones. Their understanding of time would be radically different from ours. Where we measure time in the simple progression of days and years, they would experience time as a complex weaving of multiple cycles. Their historical records might be organized not by linear progression, but by the recurring patterns of stellar alignment that happen across centuries. Imagine receiving a message from such a civilization. The signal arrives in pulses that seem almost musical, but follow patterns too complex for human-designed computers to decode immediately. The rhythm hints at meaning, but the meaning itself remains tantalizingly out of reach, like a song sung in a language that uses harmonics we've never learned to hear. Their mathematics might be beautiful beyond our current understanding. Where we solve problems by finding single solutions, they might naturally think in terms of paired solutions that dance around each other like binary stars. Their geometry might describe spaces that curve and twist in response to dual influences, creating mathematical art forms that reflect the gravitational choreography of their stellar environment. The questions they ask about the universe might focus on balance, partnership, and the beauty that emerges from complexity. While human science often seeks to reduce complex phenomena to simple principles, binary world intelligence might celebrate complexity as the fundamental nature of reality. Their philosophy would likely embrace paradox and complementarity in ways that human thought has only recently begun to explore. The idea that two seemingly opposite things can both be true simultaneously would seem natural to minds that grew up watching stellar eclipses where darkness and light dance together in perfect harmony. If they have developed space travel, their exploration of their solar system might follow patterns unknown to human exploration strategies. They might send paired spacecraft that work together, maintaining orbital resonances that mirror the dance of their home stars. Their space stations might be built as binary systems, with different components specializing in different functions while remaining gravitationally linked. Their art would capture beauty that human aesthetics have never imagined. Sculptures might be designed to cast different shadow patterns under different combinations of stellar light. Paintings might use pigments that reveal different images when illuminated by different stellar spectra. Music might be composed for performance during specific stellar alignments, when the acoustics of their atmosphere reach particular states. Their science might have discovered principles that human physics has yet to explore. Living in a naturally complex gravitational environment, they might understand aspects of spacetime and gravitational interaction that single-star civilizations would find difficult to study. Their insights into orbital mechanics, tidal forces, and the behavior of complex systems might be centuries ahead of our own. But perhaps most intriguingly, their emotional and spiritual development might follow paths that human psychology has never traveled. Growing up in an environment where change and complexity are the norm rather than the exception, they might have evolved emotional responses and coping strategies that help them thrive in uncertainty. Their literature might celebrate the beauty of change itself, finding meaning and joy in the constant flux of their binary environment. Their religions might worship the dance of opposing forces, seeing divinity in the balance and tension that creates stability through dynamic interaction rather than static perfection. As we listen across the cosmic ocean for their signals, we might need to expand our very definition of what constitutes communication. Their messages might be encoded not just in radio waves, but in the complex patterns of their stellar system itself. They might have learned to subtly influence their star's behavior, creating orbital variations that spell out messages across centuries for any civilization patient enough to watch and decode. The loneliness that sometimes haunts human consciousness might be foreign to minds that evolved in a binary system. Having grown up under the light of stellar partnership, they might find the concept of true isolation difficult to understand. Their psychology might be fundamentally based on relationship, connection, and the creative tension that emerges when different forces work together. Tonight, as radio telescopes around Earth scan the sky for signs of intelligence, perhaps some of those signals are coming from binary star systems, carrying messages from minds that think in harmony and complexity, that understand the universe as a vast dance of paired forces creating beauty through their eternal interaction. But as we dream of contact with such exotic intelligence, we prepare to return home, carrying with us new ways of seeing our own simple, single star and the precious world it illuminates with its solitary light. The cosmic journey ends as all journeys must, with a gentle return home. Feel yourself drifting back across the vast distances of space, leaving behind the alien worlds where two suns dance in eternal partnership. Your imaginary spacecraft turns toward the familiar golden glow of a single star. As Earth grows larger in your view, notice how different it seems now. The blue marble that has been your home for all of your life suddenly appears both precious and wonderfully simple. One sun, one moon, one steady source of light and warmth that has cradled life for billions of years. Your single sun rises each morning with reliable precision, painting the sky in colors that follow predictable patterns. There are no complex stellar alignments to track, no double summer seasons to endure, no eclipse periods to navigate. Just the gentle rhythm of day and night, the comfortable cycle of seasons that your ancestors have known for thousands of generations. Feel the familiar weight of Earth's gravity as your imaginary journey ends. This simple, steady pull that points in only one direction suddenly feels like a gift. Your body has evolved for this exact gravitational embrace, this unchanging force that keeps your feet on solid ground and your sense of balance perfectly calibrated. Earth's atmosphere wraps around you like a comfortable blanket. Air that has been stirred by the heat of one sun, moved by weather patterns that follow simple and predictable rules. No complex atmospheric rivers flowing between zones heated by different stars. No spiral wind patterns created by competing gravitational influences. Just the familiar whisper of wind that has blown across this world since long before humans learned to listen. The ocean waves that reach your shore follow the ancient dance of one moon and one sun. High tide and low tide arrive with clockwork precision, creating rhythms that every coastal creature has learned to trust. These simple tides have carved familiar shorelines, created predictable habitats, and provided the stable conditions where Earth life learned its first lessons. But now, having traveled in your imagination to worlds of doubled complexity, you see Earth's simplicity as a form of profound beauty. The single sunrise that will greet you tomorrow morning is not less than a binary dawn, it is simply different, perfect in its own elegant way. Earth's forests reach toward one sun with a clarity of purpose that suddenly seems miraculous. Every leaf knows exactly which direction to face, every flower understands precisely when to bloom. The trees in your local park are not struggling to track multiple stellar influences, they are masters of single-star living, perfectly adapted to harvest energy from one reliable source. The creatures that share your world have solved the puzzle of life using Earth's simple rules. Birds migrate following the straightforward cycles of seasonal change. Bears hibernate according to the predictable patterns of winter and spring. Flowers bloom in harmony with the steady progression of one sun's journey across your sky. Yet now you carry within your mind the knowledge that life is far more creative than Earth has ever needed to show. Somewhere among the stars, in systems where two suns dance together, evolution might be composing symphonies of adaptation that Earth life has never imagined. Plants might be learning to photosynthesize using wavelengths of light that Earth's chlorophyll has never encountered. Animals might be developing senses that can detect gravitational currents and predict stellar eclipses. Intelligence might be awakening that thinks naturally in patterns of complexity that human minds find challenging to grasp. This knowledge doesn't make Earth less special. Instead, it reveals your home world as one precious note in a cosmic symphony of incredible richness. Earth represents one beautiful solution to the challenge of creating life in the universe. Binary star systems represent other solutions, equally beautiful, equally valid, equally worthy of wonder. As you settle deeper into your bed tonight, feel the familiar comfort of sleeping under Earth's simple sky. Tomorrow morning, one sun will rise in the east, painting your world with golden light that has traveled across space for 8 minutes to reach you. This light carries no complex stellar messages, follows no intricate orbital patterns. It simply warms your world with the steady love of a single star. But now, when you look up at that familiar sun, you'll remember the cosmic dance happening in distant systems. You'll know that across the galaxy, other worlds are spinning in the gravitational embrace of stellar partners, experiencing seasons and weather patterns and forms of life that Earth has never known. The night sky above your bed holds secrets that your journey has begun to reveal. Many of the stars you see with your naked eyes are actually binary systems, pairs of stellar dancers too distant for your eyes to separate. Each point of light in the darkness might be harboring worlds where life learns lessons that Earth biology has never needed to master. Your dreams tonight might carry you back to those distant worlds, letting you walk once more through forests of doubled shadows, swim in oceans stirred by binary tides, or listen for radio signals from intelligence that grew up under twin suns. But you will always return to Earth, to the simple beauty of one sunrise, one sunset, one golden star that has made your existence possible. Your home world's elegant simplicity is not a limitation, it is a perfect expression of one way the universe can nurture life. Sleep now, knowing that you are part of a cosmos far stranger and more wonderful than Earth alone could ever reveal. You are a child of one sun, but now you are also a dreamer of worlds where two stars dance, where complexity creates beauty, where life finds ways to thrive under conditions that Earth has never known. The universe is vast, and full of possibilities that we are only beginning to imagine.